Hey everyone, Teo here. Today I'm reviewing the Veikk Studio 16, which is a 15.6-inch pen display with a matte glass surface. First of all, disclaimer, this is a review unit provided by the company, and in this video I'll just present to you my findings so that you can decide whether this is worth the money. The price of this pen display is $269 right now during the pre-sale, and I have no idea how long this pre-sale will last, but after that the price should go up to $299. Purchase of the tablet will come with 2 years warranty. Let me give you the bottom line up front. This display looks good. The resolution is just 1080p, and I've already color calibrated the display, and I measured color accuracy for 100% sRGB, 85% ODB-RGB, and a maximum brightness of 208 nits. This is a laminated display. When drawing and writing, the line appears almost directly beneath the pen tip. The matte glass surface provides a subtle tactile drawing experience, which is really nice, and this does not stick to your hands, and you can get good control while drawing. The pen supports tilt and slightly over 16,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. Initial activation force is low, so it's very easy to draw thin lines even with a thick brush selected. This display is laminated, so when drawing there is almost no gap between the line and the pen tip, and this display now looks slightly soft. That's because my camera is pointing at an extreme angle. Overall drawing experience for me is positive. However, right now the driver does not support pen calibration. There is an error when I try to calibrate the pen, so if there is cursor misalignment with your pen, you will definitely need pen calibration, and right now it doesn't work. I have already contacted the company regarding this, so hopefully Veikk can update their driver soon. Other than the problem with the driver, there are no main issues. The hotkeys work well, but there are only 5, and the wheel here at the corner works fine. So this is a good pen display. The visual quality is good, the pen is sensitive, and the drawing performance is positive. Alright, on to the full review. Let me show you the items included in the box. This is the packaging box. I like the fact that they have all the specifications listed on the back. I will go through the specifications as I talk about the product later. Now, one bit of information that is missing here is latency. So pen displays usually have around 50 milliseconds latency, so we are not sure whether this pen display has higher or lower latency than that. This is the unboxing. You know what, let me just take everything out first. And it seems like everything is very safely packed in the box. That's the tablet stand with full out fit. You get 3 height adjustments with this. This is the highest angle for the stand, and this is quite a comfortable angle for drawing. This is somewhere in the middle, and this is lowest, and they have rubber padding at the bottom to prevent the tablet stand from scratching your table. This is the link where you can download the driver, and this is how you can contact the company if you need customer service or support. This pen display comes with 1 year warranty. Next, there is the microfiber cleaning cloth, 1 artist glove. This is the 3-to-1 cable. So at this end you get full-size HDMI. This red USB-A will go to the power source, and this black USB-A will go to your computer. And on the other end, we have 2 connectors, and this will go to the pen display. This is USB-C, and this looks like a micro USB, and this is a custom design, which means if your cable is damaged, you will have to buy a replacement cable from the company. This is a USB-A male to USB-A female extension cable for the power connector. And this is a USB-C to USB-C video cable. This is also a custom design, which means if you need to replace this USB-C video cable, you can actually buy a cable from some other company. You just have to make sure that this part here is actually small enough to go into the pen display. And lastly, we have pen accessories. The company has included many pen nibs, and that's the nib remover. This is the pen stand where you can put the pen vertically. And if you open it, you'll find nothing inside. So I'm not sure why they designed it this way. And at the bottom, there is no rubber padding, so this is going to be quite smooth on the table, depending on how smooth your table is. And there is another pen nib remover at the back. So with this pen display, you get two pens housed inside this rather cheap looking plastic box. This is the slim pen, and this is the one with the thicker diameter. This slim pen has two side buttons and one eraser at the back. This is not powered by battery, so no charging is required. The build quality, I would say, is solid enough, even though this is made with plastic, and I like the matte textured surface. This is comfortable to hold and the surface feels nice. This pen has a good grip, which is very important because this part here is actually not thicker to prevent your fingers from sliding down to the front. The pen tip has minimal movement when in contact with the drawing surface. So that's the slim pen, and this is the thicker pen. Build quality is quite solid, even though this is made with plastic as well, and this has the same matte textured surface throughout. This pen also comes with two side buttons, but there is no eraser at the back, and this is not powered by battery as well, so no charging is required. This pen also has a good grip, and this is the thicker part that I was telling you about that prevents your fingers from sliding forward. Both pens support tilt sensitivity and up to 16,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. And this pen nib also has minimal movement when drawing. So this is the Veikk Studio 16 pen display. Check out the matte textured drawing surface. This is not a screen protector. This is actually matte glass, and that's how the anti-glare looks. So this pen display comes with 5 customizable hotkeys on the left side, and here at the corner there is a customizable wheel, and when you turn the wheel you can hear clicking sounds, and this is not free turning. If you are left-handed, you can rotate this 180 degrees so that the hotkeys and the wheel are by the side, and the ports are actually at the top, or if you rotate it, it's at the bottom. And thankfully there is actually enough allowance for you to still put the pen display on the tablet without the connector hitting or touching the table. These are the two ports. This is for USB-C and this is for micro USB. And notice how the design of the ports are recessed into the pen display. So if you need to replace the 3-to-1 cable, you have to buy that cable from the company. But if you want to replace your USB-C video cable, you can actually buy cables from other companies as long as this black part here is small enough to go into this port. This, by the way, is my own USB-C cable. And on this side here, near the ports, you will find buttons for power and brightness. Design of this pen display looks good. I like the rounded corners. The weight of this pen display is kind of heavy, but that doesn't matter because this will either be on the table or on the tablet stand. And this is quite thin. I would say it's as thick as a typical slim laptop nowadays. Now this has to be connected to a computer in order for you to draw on it. I've just connected the pen display to my laptop using a USB-C video cable, and my laptop is able to power the pen display at maximum brightness. And I've just color calibrated the pen display and my laptop as well, so the colors on both displays now match. This is the result of the calibration. I measured color support for 100% sRGB. This, by the way, is not a touch screen. 82% NTSC, 85% Adobe RGB, and 93% P3, and a maximum brightness of 208 nits. So this is a 100% sRGB display, and if you are working with print, you may want to go with a display that has at least 95% Adobe RGB, but this only has 85%, but I guess it's alright if you're not that particular. So this is how the anti-glare looks with the display at maximum brightness, and the brightness is actually high enough to go through the diffuse reflection slightly. Anyway, as long as you do not have direct light pointing towards the display, this is the image quality you can expect. If you are using the USB-C video cable for connection, and you're using a laptop, make sure you connect the laptop to power, because this is going to drain the laptop battery quite quickly. If you're using the 3-to-1 cable, this connector with the two connectors will go to the pen display. HDMI will go to the computer. Black USB will go to the computer so that the pen can work, and the red USB will go to power. Now for this laptop, I have the HDMI port on this side and the USB-A on this side, so this cable will actually have to split like this. It's gonna look weird, but it works. Visual quality of this display looks good to me. Out of the box, the colors look good, but I still have to color calibrate this so that it can match the colors on my laptop. So the display size is 15.6 inches and the resolution is 1920 by 1080. So the aspect ratio is 16:9. This is how big the display is compared to A4 size paper. So you can see that it's slightly shorter but wider. So this is a big display to work with for drawing. When using your drawing and graphic design apps and there are palettes on the left and right, you will still get a good amount of canvas space to work with for drawing and for design work. And I'm not too bothered by the slight pixelation because overall the visuals still look sharp and the colors definitely look good. And thankfully the brightness of the display is actually high enough to at least go through the diffused reflection. So let me show you the anti-glare again. Yeah, so this is actually not too bad. There are actually many pen displays with much lower brightness, like around 150, 160 nits. So at least this display can go up to 208 nits from what I have measured. Matte textured surfaces can be affected by the extra grain, color noise, or shimmering effect. And for this LCD, I don't actually see much of those negative effects, so the visual quality for this display is still looking pretty good. It seems like there is a typo here, so let me just delete this and choose the brush. The matte textured surface is wonderful to work with. This is quite smooth and the pen tip is quite smooth on the display, but it's not slippery. And I am able to get good control over the pen tip. However, there is still the latency gap as the line is trying to catch up with the pen tip. And from what I can see, the amount of latency is quite normal for a pen display. It's not faster or slower compared to other pen displays that I have tested. So it's not too bad. And now let's see what the driver can do. So this is the Windows driver version 2.1.7.5. And at the time of making this video, the Mac driver is not available yet. But from what I can see on Veik's website, they do provide Mac drivers for their pen tablets and pen displays. So let's have a look here under pen. So this is where you can customize the two side buttons on the pen. I have one button here set to switch monitor or monitor switch. So this will allow me to switch the cursor from this display to my laptop, and if I tap or click the button again, the cursor will switch back. So this is an essential feature, and thankfully it works fine here, it works well here. And this is where you can customize the pressure curve. This is the mapping section, and there are some problems with the driver. If I try to rotate the display 180 degrees, you can see there is this error box that appears that prevents me from doing so. Even if you cannot rotate the display orientation using the driver, you can still rotate the display orientation using the Windows display settings. So now the hotkeys are by the right side and the connector is at the bottom left. And when I try to calibrate the pen so that the cursor can be directly underneath the pen tip, there is also this error that prevents me from doing so. I will contact Veikk and ask them to fix this error, because if you are a left-handed user and you cannot rotate the tablet, then this could be a deal breaker. And if you cannot calibrate the pen and there is cursor misalignment, that obviously is going to be a deal breaker. And right now I can see the cursor is okay. It's under the pen tip, quite close, but there is slight misalignment. So I do need to calibrate the pen, but I can't do so right now with this version of the driver. Now under setting, you can change the color temperature. You can change the RGB, brightness and contrast. So let's just use the default settings, and here you can enable Windows Ink if for some reason pressure sensitivity for the pen is not working as expected. Under function is where you can customize the 5 hotkeys. So you can just tap here and you can choose from the pre-programmed shortcuts, or you can enter your own keyboard shortcuts. And you can also create specific shortcut sets for apps that you use. You just have to add an app here and create the group of shortcuts, like the 5 shortcuts specific for maybe Photoshop when it launches, another group of shortcuts for Adobe Illustrator when it launches. But there are only 5 shortcuts, so it's not a lot. And you can also click here to customize the dial or the wheel. You can customize up to 4 shortcuts with the wheel. To switch between the different functions for the dial, you actually have to set aside one hotkey here to switch the function. So right now it's set to this button at the bottom, and when you press the button you can see the label appear. So now you can zoom. This is wheel, brush, zoom, and it will just cycle through. And now it's time for the line test, and the app that I'm using is MIDI Bank Paint. So this pen can be used for writing, and just by writing these few letters I sort of know how good the pen is already. So this is how thick the brush is. By the way, I have tweaked the pressure curve for it to look something like this instead of using the default setting, which is like this. So this is quite extreme. So let's draw some slow diagonal lines. Let me try and draw with minimal pressure. Initial activation force is quite low, and this line I would say is straight enough. as in there is no noticeable wobble or jitter pattern, so this is actually decent. This is good. Let's look at the tapered strokes. I see some issues with anti-aliasing, so you can see the edges are not smooth, and I am not able to taper the stroke smoothly. So when I see something like this, the problem could be due to Windows Ink. So let me disable Windows Ink. With Windows Ink disabled, you can see now the strokes are smoother. The edges are smoother, and I am able to get the strokes to taper more smoothly and sharply. This is Veikk Studio with the bit husky brush, and you can see the lines, they taper more smoothly and sharply. Next, let's look at the line transition from thin to thick. This looks good. There is some pressure variance here, but here it looks fine and it's very thin, and this pen can still draw thin lines after drawing the thick stroke, so this is actually quite good. Some pens are not able to draw thin lines after drawing thick lines. Let's see if we can maintain consistent line width by maintaining consistent pressure. And we can do so. Let's test the dots. This works fine. Now if you have Windows Ink enabled, you may not be able to create the dots, so you may have to tap and drag to get the dots out. So you have to disable Windows Ink in order to get this. The last test is the cursor misalignment test, where I draw separate lines and try to join the lines together and try not to introduce any gaps or stray strokes or have the lines overshoot. And as mentioned earlier, the driver has some issues with calibration. I wasn't able to calibrate the pen, so there is actually slight cursor misalignment with this pen. So this is me drawing at normal speed, and I have to undo a few times. Okay, so let's have a look at the result. The problem with lines overshooting and leaving gaps is because when I'm drawing, my pen tip is actually at the end of this line here, but the cursor is somewhere else, which is why there is a gap. And when I end my line here at the junction, but the cursor is actually somewhere else, so that's why the line overshoots. And you can see it happens quite often, and that's because I cannot calibrate the pen. So without the help of the driver right now, if I want to join the lines properly, I will have to draw more slowly to make sure the cursor is at where I need it to be. But even so, you can see there is a gap there because of cursor misalignment. Now if you are very careful, if you look at where the cursor is instead of where the pen tip is, yes, you can still join the lines properly like this. Okay, notice that gap earlier, yeah. So if you leave gaps, you have to undo, you have to redraw again, and that's going to take more time. And that's how it is right now with the driver, where you cannot calibrate the pen. Because I cannot calibrate the pen, it is difficult for me to show you accurately whether the cursor will stray away from the pen tip when I tilt the pen. So now you can see that's where the cursor is, and if I tilt the pen low like this, I can see the cursor move slightly to the right. And if I tilt the pen vertically, you can see the cursor almost goes to the center, and down it moves slightly to the right. Cursor tracking at the extreme edge looks fine to me, even though this pen is not calibrated. If your pen does not have cursor misalignment out of the box, that's great, but if it does have cursor misalignment, you have to calibrate the pen. Anyway, this issue may be specific to this review unit that I have, so I recommend you check out more reviews online to see if there are similar problems faced by other users. And now let me talk more about the drawing experience while I draw something. So pressure works fine, as you can see. We have our first gap here because of cursor misalignment. So knowing that there is cursor misalignment, it means I will have to be more careful when I'm drawing. So I will try to look at where the cursor is instead of where the pen tip is while drawing, so that I can join the lines properly. Pressure sensitivity works fine. Oh, I forgot to show you whether there is tilt sensitivity. Let me switch over to Krita. So this is the pencil brush, and let me increase the brush size, and the cursor is able to follow the direction of the pen. And as I draw this circle, there are no breaks with this stroke, so this is good. And there is pressure and tilt that can work together, so tilt works fine. Okay, let's get back to this drawing, this quick sketch. Oops, I accidentally pressed the side button and now the cursor jumped over to the other screen. So let me press that again here. I have this tendency to press the side button too often by mistake. Okay, see, let me just redo this. Where's the redo button? Okay, see, there is another gap here. I actually wanted to draw like this, but due to cursor misalignment, there is another gap. I'm pretty sure Veikk, the company, will update their driver in the future, another gap, because the driver definitely needs pen calibration. Yeah, without pen calibration, this is really a deal breaker. And I really like the matte glass surface. This is smooth, so even with my sweaty palm or fingers, my hand can still glide on the surface quite smoothly compared to glossy displays. But of course, nowadays most pen displays are matte textured. It's either whether they are using matte glass or a matte screen protector. And because this is using a matte screen protector, the pen tip, the plastic pen tip, is very unlikely to scratch the surface. Let's create some hatching lines here. So this is me actually drawing quite slowly. When you are hatching lines, usually you would hatch much faster, but this is quite slow by my standard. Okay, this is faster. So latency really isn't an issue. You can see latency, but the latency here is quite normal. Because the pressure works so well, you can actually get very nice line variation. So you can get the thin lines and the thick lines, so you get a variety of lines to make your drawing look more interesting. This is good. So the drawing experience is actually pretty good. So I prefer to use the keyboard shortcut rather than use the hotkeys. And there are only 4 usable hotkeys, since one is dedicated to switching the function for the dial, and I don't use the dial as well because, again, for me, I just find it more productive using with the keyboard. The nice thing about having a very sensitive pen is you can press down hard to get the thicker lines, and this is great for coloring very quickly because you can use broad strokes to color very fast. Okay, check out the pressure sensitivity. This looks great. This looks really great. Maybe this guy is wearing a jacket here. Another jacket by the side. Okay, let's color this part, and I can press down hard to get the broad strokes to color this really quickly. But of course, you can always use the paint bucket too if you want to. So far, the drawing process is quite predictable. Once I got the hang of having to look at the cursor and having to draw more slowly, I no longer create those line gaps, and also I don't have the lines overshoot. Okay, check out the textured lines, the very thin, check out this thin line here. So pressure sensitivity works great. Yeah, let's use the eyedropper and add a pocket here. Maybe a pocket here as well. Use the eyedropper again to switch back. Maybe we can have another sign here. Oops, 2 for $10. Let me erase this. The line overshot slightly, and let's maybe add some texture here. Yeah, so the drawing performance is, the drawing experience is for me very positive. Yeah. Joining lines, so now I'm trying to join lines. You can see this line overshoot, and there are some gaps. Again, that's due to cursor misalignment because I cannot calibrate the pen. So the driver definitely needs to be updated. But the thing is, even with all these issues that I have mentioned, you can see I am able to complete this rather simple drawing. I've just switched over to using the thicker pen, and this pen has the same performance as the thinner pen. So you can choose whether you prefer the thin one or the thick one. I'm not sure if you can see clearly, but there are many fingerprints on this display right now. So I didn't know or didn't realize my hand is that oily or greasy. Fingerprints don't actually show up when you're looking directly at the display. So I am quite pleased with the line quality that I can get with this pen. So my overall experience is very positive. So if you are interested to buy this pen display, check out the links that I have for you in the video description below. And if you have questions relating to this pen display, let me know in the comments. Alright, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye!